What happens when a scientist feels like their entire life's work has been stolen and just sold off across the globe? Well, today we're going to dissect a pretty incredible formal complaint from January 2026. This thing accuses an international network of what it calls demonic intellectual property theft. Yeah, you heard that right. Let's really break this down. Okay, right out of the gate, the language here is intense. I mean, look at the subject line. We're not just talking about some simple piracy claim. The complaint uses the phrase professional genocide. Whoa. So you can tell right away this isn't your standard legal filing. It's being framed as a massive, urgent moral crisis from the very first sentence. All right, to really get our heads around this, we're going to break it down into 5 parts. First, we'll look at the scientist behind the complaint. Then we'll dive into the cyber-piracy allegation itself. After that, we'll see who he's accusing, this international network. Then we'll cover what he actually wants done about it. And finally, you're not going to believe who he sent this thing to. Okay, first up, who is the person making these really powerful accusations? Let's get to know the scientist at the very center of this story. So the man behind the complaint is Professor Dr. Mohamed Ibrahim Fayad. He lays out his credentials right at the top. He's a scientist, an innovator, a software engineering professor. But here's the key part. He's also the founder of Abeth Press. That's his company, and he says it's the one that got robbed. Now, here's a small detail that's actually super important. Professor Fayad notes he's acting pro per. If you're not familiar with that term, it just means he's representing himself, no lawyer. This tells you right away that this isn't just some abstract corporate dispute for him. No, this is a personal battle, and he's fighting it all on his own. All right, so what's the actual crime being alleged here? Let's get right into the core of the complaint, the cyber-piracy itself. And he doesn't just call it, copyright infringement or something like that. No, he calls it an electronic armed robbery. I mean, that choice of words is so deliberate. It's meant to make you feel that this was a direct, aggressive, and violent theft. So this really boils down the conflict to its simplest terms, right? On one side, you've got Achy Press Inc., the professor's own company, and on the other side, you have these international websites that he's accusing of illegally selling his stuff. And he gets very, very specific. He's not just making broad claims. He names 2 websites in particular, one in Slovakia called Najlacnejšie knihy and another in India called Bookscape. He's basically pointing to them and saying, these are the digital storefronts where my stolen work is being sold. But the complaint doesn't just stop with those 2 websites. Oh no, it goes way deeper. He alleges that these sites are just the tip of the iceberg, the public face of a much larger, much more organized international network.
And this is where the plot really thickens. According to the document, the nerve center of this whole network is a company right here in the United States. Professor Fayad points the finger squarely at a company called Stellar Book Publishing down in Florida. He calls them the masterminds behind the entire scheme. And just look at the level of detail here. The document literally includes what it calls the list of shame. It names specific people, even their aliases. It breaks the whole thing down into alleged roles and cells. You've got central management and a Pakistani colluding cell. It's painting a picture of a really structured, almost corporate-like criminal operation. So, okay, after laying out all these incredibly detailed and serious allegations, what does he actually want to see happen? Well, the complaint wraps up with a very, very clear set of demands. It's basically a 3-step plan. Step 1, prosecute Stellar Book Publishing for DMCA violations. Step 2, get Interpol involved to shut down those websites in Slovakia and India. And step 3, make sure his company, AEH Press, is compensated for everything. The financial losses, the moral damage, all of it. And he wraps up this section with another one of those incredibly powerful moral statements, calling the people responsible demonic souls. This just drives home the point that, for him, this isn't just about money. It's a fight against people who, in his words, steal science and trade it in the shadows. Okay, and finally, to really understand the scale of what he's trying to do, we have to look at who received this complaint. Because the distribution list, well, it reveals a clear strategy to make sure his voice is heard absolutely everywhere. I mean, seriously, the list of people who got a copy of this thing is just staggering. It's like he wanted to reach every possible corner of influence he could think of. So, first up, you've got the top brass in California's state government. We're talking Governor Gavin Newsom, Attorney General Bonta, the Santa Clara DA, the sheriff, the list goes on. Then he hits all the federal and civil rights agencies. The EDD, the California Civil Rights Department,
the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the FTC, the FCC, you name it, they probably got a copy. He didn't stop with the government either. The legal community was put on notice, big time. We're talking over 30 different law firms, plus clerks of the Superior Court. He sent it everywhere. And the net gets even wider. It went out to the media, the Wikimedia Foundation, big publishers like Wiley, and even his own academic circles. Cairo University, the University of Minnesota, the IEEE Computer Society. He's covering all his bases. And then, after that epic list of officials and organizations, there's a final, really personal touch. A special message is included for his son, Ahmed, and his two daughters, Rodina and Rowan. It just grounds this massive, global complaint in a really human family context. So when you step back and look at the whole thing, this incredibly detailed, widely blasted complaint is really just one person's exhaustive attempt to be heard. And it leaves us with a really big question for today's world, right? In an age of instant digital theft, where your work can be anywhere in a second, how can a single creator, just one person, possibly fight back and find justice?